Hello and welcome to another episode of Alan Writes. This is number 7, I think. We're in the start of a new series, but it's still under the same playlist for Lightning Strikes. So, when last we left off, we had done a bit of outlining for our story because we started with a lightning strike that killed Kelly's father. And she received a call about that, and then she went out to go deal with things, the body and everything else, and her own car was hit by that. Having done just a little research on this, which Wikipedia is great for it, that basically direct strikes are rare, where the bolt directly hits you. Usually they're splashes or otherwise indirect stuff. You get a heart asystole, which is a particular sort of arrhythmia. For the, I'm not going to get into it. You can look it up if you like. There it is. It's not a flatline, of course, which is a Hollywoodism that often gets screwed up. If you don't go to flatline, you try to shock to a flatline, and then hopefully the heart restarts itself. But that's not what happens with a lightning strike, obviously. There's also respiratory arrest, so it's all bad when you get hit by lightning. This is largely prevented by not being out in a thunderstorm, which is what our new character that we're going to have in here talk about a little bit when he comes to pick Kelly up. Men are apparently 4 times more likely to get struck by lightning, perhaps because they refuse to come in out of the rain. I leave that to the viewer to figure that out. And generally from the ages of 20 to 45 years old. Lightning is 5 times harder than the sun, which is 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit, not Celsius, because that's only 27,000 or so. Versus cars, it shatters windshields, burns out or slags a portion of the hood, but only at the contact point because the metal frame of a vehicle will often channel lightning around, so that while there's sometimes a lot of damage, sometimes there's very little. Sometimes it doesn't even blow out the tires. And the tires don't really insulate, per se. Apparently the lightning having traveled so far through the air, which has a resistance of its own, if all that air didn't stop it, the tires really aren't going to. But you get the Faraday cage certainly can. All right, so we're going to do just a little bit of white hot light. Glass shattered. The car lurched. All right, a rumble followed. And then she tilted. Everything tilted. Everything tilted. Limbs deadened. Finally, to breathe. Question melted. Angle was wrong. Then she'd gone into a ditch. Then she realized she'd gone into a ditch. Because it's the same story. Was wrecked twice over. Our car was wrecked twice over. Until the rain subsided, used to pelt in through shattered glass until the sense of ending. With the shattered. Gotta love safety glass. It has saved so many injuries over the years. Probably I don't know how many. It was a fantastic invention, and it's been around a while. It took a little while for the various automotive companies to include it. If you ever want to see who was the instigator of that, you can see, was it Tucker, the Man in His Dream, HBO show. Really good one that follows somebody who wanted to put forward the earliest safety improvements on vehicles, like seatbelts and safety glass. things that saved a lot of lives, and that the automobile industry was loath to include because it simply jacked up the price without offering or seeming to offer much in return. After all, nobody wants to get into an accident, so why plan around that? Anyway, here we go. Now we're going to this was Kelly's opening. We don't know too much about Kelly, but we're going to learn a little bit more. The police radio crackled, and patrolman. What do we want to name is going to be the deputy officer. He's young. He's motivated and ambitious. He's seen just enough to take the edge off what you think police work is. When you first entered, like, what are you going to be doing? I'm going to be busting criminals and solving, no. You're answering domestic disputes at 2 in the morning, and nobody wants you to be there, but everyone has called you. Those sorts of things. It's a lot of bullshit, and occasionally you get to serve the community and help people out, and those are always the good moments for a police officer. But there's just a lot of crap because you're seeing people at their worst. Nobody calls the police officer when everything is going fine. My son's having a birthday party. Would you like to come over? On your break? No, you don't generally get that. So what are we going to name him? We could name him many things. We could name him anything. I don't want a patrolman anything, though. And patrolman, I was thinking Dickerson, but that has kind of connotations that it's a little too on the nose for Kelly's romance. Either way, because remember, this is a romance. It is it's a romance with some sci-fi elements, let's call it. Insofar as we're dealing with lightning, we're going to deal with actual science. And while we're not going to get into super science, we are going to touch upon that aspect of things because it's important to the story and what her father was doing. Which means at some point I'm going to have to research it so that I can at least give a layman's view of it to Kelly through the mouthpiece of a scientist that she may or may not end up dating for a while, I think he's going to be a conspiracy theorist, so she's going to have to realize that about him and ditch him pretty quick. So, what are police officers? What do we want to do for this? If we want to, obviously, male, because most romances are male-female. It's just, that's the way it is. If you want female-female or male-male, there are other stories out there. This will be just the basics, because I'm interested in the relationship between the people, most of all without a lot of other bells and whistles, call them, going off. Likewise, neither one of them is a multi-rich millionaire and into BDSM, so there's all that. I'm not putting a lot of bells and whistles on it in any way, shape, or form. This is a basic romance, and the reader will know what they're getting into when they pick up the book, and hopefully they will be there for that. They want a certain type of story, and I'm going to give it to them. I'm also going to give them some other things in addition to that, but at the end of the day, they should be satisfied with whatever romantic tale you're telling. They have certain beats, it has certain aspects that they want to explore. You expect at the end the hero and heroine are going to get together at the end, and they're going to live happily ever after and screw like happy wet seals. How you depict that last part is, of course, entirely dependent upon what you want to relate and what kind of book it is. Some audiences want things one way, some audiences want the other way. It depends. It really depends on your audience, what you're writing for. And you'll figure that out as you write and go along, just as I'm doing right here. The room crackled in Patrolman. Hanes. It's a name of underwear. First thing that left into my mind. Fine. And Hanes answered. We'll go. I don't know what the police speak. As he answers in a formal police speak. Here. It's like 1L19, like or some of the back chatter you'll get for that. He said, and then released. What is that called? The receiver? No. It's the key. Hey, Haynes. We've got an escort mission. For you. Dispatcher. What should the dispatcher should be named? Meredith. Meredith something. It was sad, but he couldn't remember her that well. There were some dispatchers, one for several for every shift, and they often came and went like telemarketers. And we give the address, whatever it happens to be. Haynes knew it. "20 miles off, well out of the way." Then again, wasn't much to do. Then again, there wasn't much to do, owing the weather. Ditched cars, stranded, ditched cars, stranded, stranded children, and one fatality. Escort mission. The unlucky girl. Okay. What's her name? He asked. Kel. I don't know what to name her. What's her last name? So, what's her last name? Well, Jones is pretty obvious, but that's boring. It's very boring. Jacobson, no. I wanted I think I want a J or an L. Lindman. Kelly Lindman. It's bland enough. What the heck? It'll work. Kelly Midland. 22. Probably dateable. Except for her dad. Probably dateable, you know, except for her dad. Yeah. I got you. Haynes replied. It was a warning. It was a warning. Not to him. Yes, to him. Yes, let's give him a flaw here. Is that he tends to get attracted to women he's helping. It was a warning. Last time he got close to a witness ended badly in court. The DA was upset and circling for loaf of blood. Why he which was why Patrolman Haynes was a patrolman and not corporal. Patrolman Haynes was a patrolman and not a corporal. I'll get her out to her father. To the morgue. Roger. Good luck. Meredith called. Police jargon for central out. However they say it. And again, that's something I'll research when the time comes. It's not important to know it now. I'm not going to divert myself either away from writing in order to research it. Research and writing, you don't flicker back and forth. It's hard on the brain. It's really hard to code switch like that. All right, Roger. Good luck, Meredith called. Please jargon over and out. Haynes called up his car's GPS, studied the route, considered alternatives if a road was washed out, and then I'm going to have him let's see, he's clicked his seatbelt and put the car in gear. Put his cruiser and put his cruiser. Alright, so from this little section we can tell he's meticulous and that he's safety conscious. That he wants to get everything done and set up in a certain manner. This will, I don't know how he's going to interact with Kelly on that. She's going to find him perhaps too meticulous, but perhaps in time she will come to appreciate that. Again, I don't know who Kelly is going to end up with. Haynes here is just one of 3 possible suitors for her attentions, once she gets things resolved with her father. There we go. They could very well they'll just be friends. It could very well be that he sees whatever she ends up doing as illegal, because she's probably going to have to do some edgy stuff in order to investigate her father's death and his invention that he was, or whatever he was trying to do, his patents and all of that stuff. It was a long drive for him. Nothing to do but listen to the calls that he wasn't a part of. I'm ending with a preposition, so sue me. Nothing to do but listen to the calls he wasn't part of. Ambulance to location for fire dispatched fire truck dispatched to location Again, we'll be fleshing out these locations as we go. We'll make them interesting, and it's a good way to refer to these back because they'll become part of the mythology of the story, and you can put them back in there. For example, where the fire truck visited, where we can have it also be a lightning strike, for example, that hit the building because rain doesn't always snuff flames. Um, flames. All right, that's because rain doesn't always snuff flames. Um, Still only one death. A good day, despite the weather. So he's idealistic, but he's also practical. He's a nice. I like the way he's shaping up. He's definitely a patrolman who has a weakness for women in danger. So that's good stuff. All right. The address wasn't hard to find, nor was the woman waiting on the porch. From here, he could see she was wrapped in a bunch of layers against the cold, more like a bundle of cloth than a grieving daughter. As he got out, ignoring the drops that came, ignoring the errant drops, he found her eyes red and lips drawn tight. A mask of grief he'd seen too many times. There was a garage. There was a garage, though. There was a garage beside the house. The empty and yes, with an empty car-shaped gap around lawn and garden around varied. So there we go. Miss, I don't know. He asked. Yeah. You my lift? Her voice was flat. Her voice was flat. Except for edges of pain. There are also small red marks on her skin. So he's seeing small marks on her skin. Where she'd done what exactly? Are you my lift? I'm going to escort you to go. Haynes said. Did you have a car? What happened to your car? No, where you need to go. Ready? No. Let's go. She got in. So did Haynes. Inside the dry spaces. Inside the dry spaces, there was the dry interior. The dryer, they buckled up without a word. There wasn't much to say. It was a shame, because passing the time so something happened to your car? Haynes asked. They were on the road. Yeah. Lightning. What? Bolt of light? She repeated. Okay. Really? He said. Doubt creeping in. Doubt creeping in. People lied. Only question was how much and when. That's quite a coincidence. She pointed. Off to side of the road, he could see a vehicle buried into the ditch. He slowed. Couldn't see anyone. He slowed, couldn't see anyone, because he's checking to see if everyone's alright. Couldn't see anyone. Made to stop. Don't bother. It's mine, she said. He glanced her way, found she appeared. Had she grief must have really taken a toll for her to go into the ditch and then blame the hood was melted through to the engine, and the shield shattered instead of crumpled. Shattered from the base. Shattered in Well, it would be from like a crater-like thing, wouldn't it? I don't want to use crater because it's not a crater. Shattered in a circular pattern. Lightning. Yeah. She'd been telling the truth. And hell of a coincidence, he muttered to himself. She didn't seem to hear, which made sense. All right, she is going to be a little definite, isn't she? That's a good point. Loud, with an edge of pain. Bolt of lightning, she repeated. Still the volume up. Okay, well, that's half an hour of this. We're not very far along. They're just getting to the drive, and we've just established the characters. We've established the deputy, the patrolman. I guess that makes them state police. Um, state police, which is good because it gives him more range for because state troopers are um, they can go a lot of different places, and while um, they have more cash to travel than a somebody who's just in the district. But we can always change that if need be. We just have to make sure if he's a patrolman. Again, things can change. As Neil Gaiman in his masterclass intro says, pretty much, the key to a second draft is making it look like you knew what you were doing the first time through. And this is a great exploration of us just putting something together, seeing what works, what doesn't, letting the story pan out however it's going to go, flaws and all, because we can. Once we're done with it, we can then set about fixing it and then taking the things that do work and putting more emphasis on it and removing the things that don't, or fixing them, for that matter. But this has been Alan Wrights, uh, episode 7. Yes. So, I hope you have enjoyed this little excursion into creativity, and I hope you have a good day. Thanks.